Welcome back to another episode of Pope's Photo. Alright, well, welcome back to another episode of Pope's Photo. Took a little break for a bit there to just get my life back. You know, it takes a lot of work every week editing for the Jasper Planetarium here. So today's my first day. So what a good way to start the episodes here. So I'm a little out of breath. I sort of ran across the field here because I ran from my other job to get here. So let's see how today goes. Alright, so I just got here for my first day. I'm going to be working with Steve here. He's going to go over the presentation that we should be going over here soon and learning. But yeah, this is the tent. There's some really cool stuff.
I'll basically just treat it as if it's like you're a paying guest.
Perfect.
Pretty much feel, and keeping in mind, you don't have to do it exactly the way I do it. This is just a starting point, because I didn't have a starting point. You know what I mean? So, my name's Steve. We're here at the Jasper Planetarium.
Woohoo!
And I'm gonna take you guys through a tour of our extensive meteorite collection here. So.
Do you say extensive or expensive?
Both.
Okay.
Alright. So first things first, right? We need a starting point. What are meteorites? Well, meteorites, we'll keep it nice and simple. They're rocks from space. Rocks that fall to Earth from space. Nice and simple, right? Meteorites come from the asteroid belt. That's why we have the asteroid belt pictured here on the screen. Now, the asteroid belt is found between Mars and Jupiter. You have this ring of broken debris orbiting the sun. The smallest piece is little pebbles, if not technically grains of sand inside. The largest piece, over 900 kilometers across.
Holy crow.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just because I'll be using a few different terms and just so we're all on the same page. But don't worry, there's no test at the end. So if you want to tune out, that's cool too.
I'll put it at the end of the channel there.
Sure, yeah. So meteorites are meteorites asteroids are asteroids in the asteroid belt and everywhere else in space until they enter our atmosphere. Then it becomes a meteoroid with a D at the end. Meteoroid. If you see those shooting stars or the fireballs in the sky, that's when the meteoroid breaks apart into meteors. So you drop the D. And if any of that material survives to hit the Earth, it becomes a meteorite.
Ah.
First one we're going to be talking about, this tiny little flake here. It's so small, in fact, that as you can see, we have it hooked up to a microscope, which is hooked up to the monitor here. So that is a live image of what you see underneath the plastic there. By this particular space rock, well, this one's got a super cool backstory. We bought it on World News back in 2013 when this large meteor exploded over a city in Russia, and it was extremely well documented. So that fireball you see in the sky right there, well, that's where our little space rock came from.
Cool.
Right? So it's kind of famous. So as this was approaching the Earth, guess what was behind it the whole way? The sun. It was backlit by the brightness of the sun, making it invisible until it got really, really close to the Earth. And then all of a sudden, everyone freaked out, and it's like, what is this? And again, fortunately that it didn't turn into a tragedy. No fatalities.
You would think something that big coming into the atmosphere, even though it's behind the sun, there'd be something that would catch it, like a satellite, a radar.
Yeah, it was just one of those fluke events, right? So
Government conspiracy?
maybe, I don't know. Now, as I mentioned, I've been dating to get to that date, but that's basically a souvenir from a very, very early period in our solar system, back when the planets were still getting sorted out.
Holy cow.
And when you look closely there, you'll see the bottom part of it. That's iron. That metallic core would have formed first, and then those beautiful gemstones that give it that stained glass window effect, those are olivine and peridot. They would have formed secondarily on top of the metallic core of this thing. And I could go into a number of different.
So these are all, this is real then, right?
Yeah, you betcha.
Can I ask how much something like that would cost?
Yeah, people always do. That's like the most common question.
Yeah.
I actually, most of this stuff was purchased way before I started here. I don't know for sure. If I had to ballpark it, I would say maybe like $3 grand, 2.5.
Oh, okay. I was thinking more.
Yeah, everyone always thinks more. For
Yeah,
sure.
like-
You notice how thinly sliced it is, right? So they definitely get a lot of mileage out of something this big.
But it's something you think that's like 4.5 billion years old, you know, like, man.
Well, and it
three
is-
that you think $3 grand? That's
It is
not much.
rare, but I mean, we see this stuff on the earth. What drives up the price is more the gemstones and the beauty. The aesthetic of this one is what makes it more expensive than the fact that it's actually that old. Meteorites of this variety are referred to as palisite meteorites.
Yep.
And I mean, you know, you can get a less pretty palisite meteorite for a fraction of the cost, basically.
You know what rappers should do instead of like rocking out with big gold bling, man, and just have like, yo, what are you rocking? 4.5 million? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man.
That's a cool. That is cool.
That's that one there, and right there.
A piece of the moon.
So how does the moon get to the Earth, right? Well, if we look at the moon here on the screen, what do you notice? All these impact craters, right? So collisions on the moon, pieces blow off. There's very little gravity, almost no atmosphere on the moon. If something leaves the surface of the moon with a certain velocity, it's gone. It's lost to space. It ain't coming back. The coolest thing about our moon rock, you guys get to touch the moon before you leave here today.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
There you go. Information is found in that rock right there. So basically there's microscopic pockets of gas in that rock that have the exact same radiation signatures as Mars itself. It's a classic case of if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, well, geez, it's probably a duck. And if you're wondering, you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, but how would they ever know that it's a meteorite to begin with? That particular Mars rock, it was part of a larger meteor that exploded over India back in the 1850s. It was very well documented. You know, it was collected, it was studied. People knew it was from outer space. They had no idea it was from Mars until the 70s when we started sending probes to Mars. We get data back, and then someone, you know, they have the light bulb goes off moment where they're like, I've seen this data before in these space rocks that I was, you know, cataloging as an undergrad or something. And then there you go, the connection's made, and they realized that that event was from actual pieces of Mars.
That's awesome.
But again, the coolest thing about Mars,
The red planet there.
you get to
Touching a piece of Mars. This is literally a rock from Mars. How cool is that? You can see a little bit of the red in there. It almost looks like a little orangey. That's incredible. That's so neat to think that I'm touching something from so far away. All right, welcome back to my channel. This is the second day of my training at the planetarium here. So, yeah, well, let's get started. I started a new job in the morning, and now I'm doing this because I've been loving doing the night photography and everything as well. I thought, hey, why not expand my knowledge about astronomy, the stars, and everything else? So, what am I doing? I need to drive out to Pyramid Lake. Yeah, so I'm gonna head out there. And yeah, should be good. I mean, I'm actually really excited there. Like yesterday, touching the piece of the moon and touching a piece of Mars, like that's amazing to me. Like that's actually like a huge highlight for me. Like, you know, it may seem really simple to some people, but to me, I am just blown away by that. So I think that's pretty amazing. I think that's not a chance for everybody to do something like that, right? To be able to say something like that. So that's cool to be able to work around that. Anyways, so we're driving out there now. The sun is setting. I literally wish I could be taking some pictures right now because there's some orange beams coming out here. Running a little behind, so I can't really take a photo of it, which is really depressing. Maybe I'll stop somewhere here before I get a shot here. But yeah, no, it should be fun. I'm doing some telescope training today, so gonna learn a little bit more about the telescopes and that. So come join me on my adventures of Pope's Photo. Okay, I can only do this for really quickly, but yes, pretty amazing right now, man. All right, welcome back. So this is my second day of training at the planetarium. They're not gonna have a group coming in until 10 o'clock tonight to look at telescopes. But yeah, they've got everything set up here at Pyramid Lake. Pretty nice. My light on my head looks pretty dope actually right now. But it was a pretty amazing sunset, sunset coming down here. I stopped and took a little video there, which you'll probably see before this part here. But yeah, so let's see how the night goes, and we'll go from there. Well, the bad thing was the clouds were out and the stars were almost impossible to see out there. They did pop out every so often, and I managed to get a few pictures, but nothing spectacular. But the good thing with the planetarium is if the clouds do come out, the presentations are amazing anyways, so that's a plus. And they always offer a rain check with that. So it was a really amazing night. I really learned a lot, and I'm really excited to bring this new passion with my photography and everything to the channel. So come subscribe and join. Thanks again.